Welcome to Game of Books with Cathi in South Dakota.
That's me, and Christy in South Florida.
That's me. We're two newbie writers sharing our take on wine, food, and mystery books.
And the authors who write them. Join us for the fun.
Hello, everyone out there. Or should I say in there? Because that's where you're supposed to be if we are ever going to be able to get out there again.
Right?
It's just crazy.
It's
crazy.
It's quite an adjustment in everyone's lives, but
yes,
I'm thankful today to be doing this podcast with you so we can just kind of, for a few minutes, enjoy talking with each other about a book, kind of like our normal lives.
Yes. Because we've always been social distancing.
That's true.
And we found a way around it, you know.
Yeah.
We're able to handle South Dakota and Florida. That's pretty distant.
That's right.
So.
And you don't have to go outside of your house to read a great book like the one we're going to talk about today, All We Buried by Elena Taylor.
Yes, yeah. I really enjoyed this book. And I have to say, last week's Quarks in Conversation was one of my favorites.
It was me too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I love all our authors that we've talked to, honestly. I've loved all the interviews. And but for whatever reason, I don't know if it's our cooped upness or just all the stuff she had to say, but I felt like we could talk to her for hours, didn't you?
I did. And, you know, I also have really enjoyed doing the last couple times we had flipped things, according to one of your brilliant ideas. And we talked to Al and Elena first before we recorded their actual book club episode. And I really liked that because it colors both, you know, that Quarks in Conversation really colors both discussions. And I really like that. So. Yeah.
I don't know why we didn't think of that earlier.
I don't either. But, you know, Elena had such great information and tips for writers and for readers. So it was wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. And do some reading and talking and relaxing, you know, right now.
And this is a great book to get people through. So we'll get to it.
Yes.
But speaking of getting through and relieving some anxiety, let's open up this bottle of wine.
Okay, all right.
I mean, come on.
Woman after my own heart.
Yes. Okay.
I think a lot of people are opening bottles of wine during this.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear see the increase?
You?
Yeah, the increase in alcohol sales is a little scary, actually.
I know. And you know what? We are drinking a wine. We're drinking Chianti.
Mm-hmm.
The DaVinci Chianti, which you had actually gotten because I said, Cathi, please just tell me what you can get up there. If you can get anything, if you have something in the cellar, because, you know, South Dakota, your town's liquor store was closed.
It was. So thankfully we can get wine at our grocery store, but hard liquor, you could not because our municipal liquor store has been closed, and they did just reopen under kind of a, you know, you can call and give them your order and they'll basically bring it out to your car, which is great. And I think the entire town showed up the afternoon they opened. I mean, I'm not kidding. I had talked to my dad and I'd said, hey, you know, have you been to the liquor store yet? Have you, placed an order and all that kind of stuff? And he said, yes, I was there 20 minutes after they opened. I was like, that's right. Very good. He didn't want to run out. So, yeah.
We got our priorities straight.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yes. So I'm glad with your choice because, you know, the book did not have any wine drinking. And,
I know.
You know, last week with Elena, we had the bourbon barrel because they did drink, you know, some bourbon. But I kind of liked, you know, this Chianti because, you know, I was trying to think of food for the book club episode. And honestly, you know, right now, since everything's going to be pretty much a virtual book club for, you know, the foreseeable future.
A Zoom book club, yeah.
A Zoom book club, yes, which I find very fun, but obviously you're not serving anybody food or wine. It's just what they can get on their end or do on their end. So I thought, hey, you know, this Chianti goes well with pizza. And as far as I know, most everywhere, pizza is still delivering. So
there you go.
Everybody could, if they want to have the same thing as everybody else, they could, you know, have a pizza delivery. You know, in the book, again, there wasn't a whole lot of eating going on either, was there, Cathi?
No. No, there wasn't.
There was a lot of investigating and, twists and turns and all that kind of stuff. But they did have some like pub food. Yeah. And one time there was a short ribs, but I'm like, okay, that's a little much for a book club.
Well, especially right now. That's a lot. It just seems like a lot.
I mean, like, okay, that's a few hours preparation in my opinion. So maybe an all-day affair.
I think the Chianti, it's a nice one because it's really a mild wine.
Yes. And this one is DaVinci, which I love the label. Mm-hmm. Obviously. Being based on an artist. And I love the area it comes from.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
I've been there, and I think that's where we should go for a writer's retreat.
I think you should
There's
tell
a villa there that we could go to.
What you're talking about. You should tell everybody what you're talking about.
Oh, it's in Tuscany in Italy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's between Florence, Pisa, and Siena, in that area, the Chianti region of Tuscany. Mm-hmm. And just really, really a beautiful part of the world that hopefully, we'll all get to one day.
I would love to. I'm game.
Providing, maybe in a year and a half, I don't know. But yeah, it's just a great place. And just everything, when I was there seemed like fresh fruits and vegetables and, wine and cheese, everything that you think of with Italy is all there.
Perfect.
And this one is supposed to have the aromas of ripe fruit and hints of fresh strawberry and plum. See, look, one sip and I lose my
your words
enunciation.
Mm-hmm. If you weren't into a Chianti though for this book club, it occurs to me. Because the location of this book takes place in Washington State, and Washington has fabulous wines, that would be another great option for book clubs. So that would be an alternative.
Mm-hmm. I know. And I thought for a minute that's when I had, hadn't looked it up and I saw what you sent. I'm like, I bet Cathi was smart and did one of those Washington wines we talked about.
No, I couldn't get. Our selection was pretty slim, but if you listen to last week's Corks and Conversation, Elena talks about kind of her favorite local winery there, and that will give you some really good ideas.
Yep.
Okay, so it's time for us to dive into our discussion of All We Buried by Elena Taylor. So as we discussed, we had talked to Elena herself last week, and we really delved into her life and her career, and it was so fun to hear about her beloved home state of Washington, which is the setting for the novel.
Yeah, and once again... Cathi, we're going to go to Tuscany, but maybe we also go to Washington and go to the winery she talked about and have another Corks and Conversation there.
Let me tell everybody a little bit about the book. It just came out, within the last 10 days, and you can get it. If you can't get it delivered, or obviously you can't go buy it, you can get an ebook of it. So I checked today, and
yes,
you can get that downloaded.
I think an audiobook yet, or no? Is the audiobook out yet?
I don't recall seeing the audiobook yet, but I'm sure it's coming. Okay. If it's not already out. So like we talked about, All We Buried really is set in this beautiful, very kind of sleepy small town full of secrets in Washington State, amongst
lots of secrets.
Yes, lots of secrets in amongst the mountains and around a incredibly deep, dark body of water that's full of mystery. But the main character is Elizabeth Bette Rivers. She goes by Bette, and she is the interim sheriff in this small town. And she has just come back recently, got called back by her father, who was the sheriff, and he unfortunately passed away in kind of some mysterious circumstances, I would say.
Yeah, it did sound like that. I think that's something that could,
Yeah. And so she ends
up in a future book, maybe.
Yeah. So she ends up as interim sheriff, and she ends up with a murder case, her first murder case. And she's got all kinds of things going on. She's got a deputy sheriff that she's not sure is on her side. He's running against her in the sheriff's election. She's had this ongoing, recurring nightmare about a body, and there's some distinct similarities to the actual body that was found in her town. So it's very mysterious circumstances, and she needs to figure out who this woman is that floats to the surface of Lake Collier, and who was responsible. Very, very good.
Yeah, I you know what? I also think that it was that, in my opinion, anyway. I think it was very hard to figure out who done it and who's the good guy and who's the bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
She really did a great job of kind of keeping that mystery going.
She did. You know, where so many of the characters had their own secrets, as small towns are, you know, kind of wrought for in literature, right? Like it's
right.
The more space you have, the more secretive you can be, I think, maybe. And
right.
And so everyone's got their secrets, and then they all have kind of some ulterior or competing motives. And she does a great job of that. She really does.
I do. I thought so too. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I want.
I do.
Yeah, me too. I liked it too. So one of the things I really liked, and I wanted to get your take on this, Christy, was so her father is deceased, but he's so present in this book. And, you know, his voice, how she thinks of what he would be telling her, is such a constant. He's almost a character, even though he's deceased in the book. And I just think that's really interesting.
I agree.
And sometimes she almost uses that voice to kind of further criticize herself. But then other times he's like, yeah, that's what you should be doing as far as investigation. It's really interesting.
Right. I think it does show the complex relationship people have with their parents. You often. Yeah. And, you know, or family in general, but often, you know, parents, and especially, you know, her situation was with her mother not being around either. Yeah. You know, it just kind of, like you said, there's all kinds of mystery buried in there. So who knows, you know, but I do like how she did that. I mean, kind of did that a little bit in my book. And it makes me think, like she was saying, the more we read and stuff, how I could even make that parent or parents more of a character even than I did, you know, but rather than just a little voice in the head.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I also loved kind of the storyline of, is she staying or not? You know, being pulled back home, trying to step into her dad's footsteps, not feeling validated by those around her. And, you know, where does she belong? I always love that story because I think that's something that we all can
relate to.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, I think that she did a really good job of pulling it together at the end so that, you know, there was a resolution. I mean, obviously there are still questions that are going to go on, I think, that I want to know what's going to happen in the future, but it's not the type of thing that annoys you, like you haven't had something resolved, you know, you see that she has grown in a certain way throughout the book, and then look forward to seeing what her next challenge might be or something like that.
Yeah, it's funny. I keep thinking about all of her cast of characters are just so interesting. Remember I can't think of her name right now off the top of my head, the woman with the coffee cart. I don't know why she just popped in my head.
Oh, yeah.
But
she was interesting too.
She was, and the dog. Okay, we have to talk about the dog. Yeah. We don't want to give anything away, but this dog she inherits from her father, who's also, you know, just as questioning of her as everybody else in town is just an awesome character. I just love that.
Yep.
You can't go. Yeah, you can't go on the big dog.
It's funny.
I know. It's a great.
Now we haven't read her other books, and we both want to. Now they're very different. They're more lighthearted mysteries on the funny side. Because she's basically has a pretty funny personality, I would say.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So I can't wait to read them. But I also think that are her other books considered what they call like cozy mysteries?
I don't know. I haven't.
I don't know either. I think they must be because that's usually a lighthearted, and they're not. The main characters aren't, cops or something. I don't know, but I do find that in those mysteries, characters become so interesting, and I'm thinking maybe that spilled over into her thriller, where she, really develops all the characters versus, just there for the ulterior motive of, being a bad guy or, something. Yeah. So I thought that was really nice.
She has a great cast of characters. Very, very fun. And so nails the small town thing. But yeah, we could go on forever. Yes. But get the book, read it. It's awesome.
Get it, read it, or listen to it, or, whatever. We could probably even get you a signed copy if you want.
We've got a connection for you.
We got a connection.
Writer's perspective. So we thought it would be fun to talk about a subject that Elena mentioned last week. She is, in addition to a writer, she works as an editor, editing other writers' works and helping them out with developmental editing issues. And we were talking about mistakes that a lot of authors make at some point in their manuscript, and something that she can help them see, with some distance. And I actually had written it down because I just really liked the succinctness of it. But she had said that every character in every scene has to have both an objective and an obstacle. And I just thought that was such a succinct way to say it.
Mm-hmm. It's something that's so basic, but it often gets lost, I think, when we're plotting and, describing and creating. We're not always thinking about each of these characters. And another that, plays into what we were just talking about with the book. I think she developed her characters in such a way, and they make sure that each of them has something to bring to the table in each scene. So, of course, you find them interesting.
Yeah.
But it's something a lot of people miss. She said, everybody seen that was her thing that she said was the most common mistake that she would see, maybe not throughout the whole book, we hope.
Yeah.
But like, on a chapter basis or a scene,
Well, and that really is what creates that tension that keeps you turning the pages at night, right? If you just want to know if that character that you now really are interested in is going to get their questions answered, right? And then something else comes up, and then they don't, and that's what makes us all turn pages at night, especially in your case at night. Mm-hmm. Mine often in the morning because I don't read at night, but you're such a good overnight reader.
Yes. Or I go to sleep and I wake up and then I start reading until the early morning, and then I'm like, oh, why did I do that? I think last night, that can be a scary thing. I started reading one of Michael Connelly's books and went to sleep with that on my mind. And of course, then I had nightmares. I mean, with all that's going on in the news, and then reading about murder as I'm going to sleep. Oh, gee, mani.
That's what we're
So I woke up in the morning in that time, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to read my book right now. I'm going to try to do some meditation or something to go back to sleep. So.
Well, that lends us to our personal updates section, maybe. That's perfect segue.
Yes. Christie's not sleeping. Anxiety.
Actually,
More wine.
I think what you just said, those three things, are a very common problem a lot of people are having. Anxiety, problems sleeping, probably drinking more than we normally do. Always then it begets, more problems on. But right. I don't watch as much TV as I would like. And I nearly binge watched an entire show last night of Harlan Coben's The Stranger. It is great.
Was it good?
It's great.
All right. I'm writing it down because I didn't even remember about that. I sort of remember maybe when he talked at Thriller Fest.
He's got, so he also has a new book out right now, which I had pre-ordered for before. So that was delivered, which is great. That's called The Boy in the Woods, I think it is.
Good.
But he also has a really cool deal with Netflix to develop programming. And this is the second one of his I've watched, but it's called The Stranger, and it is great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will watch it. I'm back in the Bosch, That's probably why
I love Harry Bosch.
You got that Michael Connelly book because I was like, hey, he had a new one out late last year.
Yeah.
And so I knew I hadn't read it yet. So
yeah.
Yeah, there's so much on TV. That's the good thing.
It is a good thing. There's so many great programs to watch. And so that's...
And movies. Lots of movies.
I have been wanting to watch the show with Reese Witherspoon and...
Oh, me too.
Yeah. The Fires. Oh, which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about the broadcast one, the one that's on...
Oh, with Jen Aniston. That's on Apple TV. Yeah, that looks really good too. Yeah. So there's so many good things to watch, which is great. We all
So which one were you talking about?
Not Big Little Lies, which I love.
Oh, you haven't seen that?
The Fires, the recent one that just came out. It just launched a couple weeks ago. And it's based upon Celeste Ng's novel.
It's The Fire?
I get the title mixed up with Big Little Lies, but it's like Little Fires. I'm going to look it up while we're talking because it looks so good, and it's got two of my favorite actresses in it. It's Little Fires Everywhere, and that's the one with Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington. And that looks amazing.
Is it? And so this is out already?
Yeah, it is on Hulu.
Okay. Which I do not have, but actually my daughter just informed me last night that she has an account that I can.
Yeah.
So there is benefits to having her here, besides the fact that I actually have somebody to hug once in a while.
That's important, isn't it? That's important for sure. Has her college figured out what they're doing for graduation? Are they just doing a virtual thing? Oh.
I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think they've actually said for sure, other than the fact that, they're not doing it on the day that they were planning.
Yeah.
So they might do a virtual one. Who knows? I know. I feel bad for her.
All hard stuff.
So therefore, I'm dyeing her hair all funny colors for her.
We do what we can do. Well, this is our last regular episode of our season. And next week, we will have a wrap-up for everybody.
Yeah. Just a wrap up. It'll be fun.
That'll be always fun. Yeah.
It's always fun.
Absolutely.
Another excuse to drink wine next week.
There you go. So everybody go out and get a copy of the ebook, probably easiest, of this great Elena Taylor, All We Buried. And I think you'll really like it.
Don't forget, listen to her Corks and Conversation from last week if you haven't heard that already, because it was just wonderful. That's all I can say.
It's really fun to hear from the author before you read their work. Well, Christy, cheers.
All right, until next time. Cheers.
Thanks to our mysterious foodies out there for listening and sharing. Check out our website, gameofbookspodcast.com, where you can find links to all we talk about. And if you subscribe to our weekly newsletter, you can get those links sent directly to you, along with any exciting updates. We are also on Facebook and Twitter under @GOBWriters.
And if you enjoyed this episode as much as we did, we would love to hear from you. And please subscribe to Game of Books wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss any of our book club ideas and Corks and Conversations with award-winning and best-selling authors.
That's all for today's episode of Game of Books Podcast, where we share food, wine, and mystery every Friday morning, just in time for the weekend.
This is Christy.
And Kathy.
Saying thanks for listening.
Bye everybody.